All right, to Heart Shape Booty Day 5, we get serious. We're going to have 2 exercises. That's all we're going to have time for today. These 2 exercises, plus a warm-up, but the 2 exercises are so foundational, that has so many cues that are so important to get right, that we're going to spend the time getting the cues right, getting the setup right. These are exercises, the hip thruster and the Bulgarian split squat, that should be incorporated throughout your fitness journey on a regular basis. So let's learn it right so that, number one, we get all the benefits of the exercises that we should, and that we're not unnecessarily causing our knees or our lower back or something like that to do something funny because of them, okay? These are too awesome not to incorporate. Doesn't mean that, I love them. The Bulgarian split squat has always been super difficult for me. I don't know why. We'll keep working at it. I'm going to show you the drill first for the warm-up. Remember, either your warm-up or whether it's your warm-up or your static stretch, always do 2 minutes in the front and in the end with whatever that you want to do, or start incorporating the ones that I'm going to show you. Today I'm going to show you what's called a box squat. Now the box squat is something that you could do with a regular chair, coffee table, whatever you have. I'm going to use my exercise bench, which is a little bit on the lower side from a chair. The lower it is, the harder it is. That's okay. Okay. What we're going to do is start seated. So we're going to start from the bottom up on this position, and we do that because we want to make sure we find our seat that's nice and comfortable. Our feet are close. Okay. Our knee width is about the width of our pelvis. We're going to keep the heel and the feet basically fixed. So that's why we want to start from the seated position up, find our position. Now we're going to think about bracing, coming straight up towards the ceiling. So most of the time when we get up out of the chair, we come forward like this before we start getting up, okay? No, in this case, we want to think about coming straight up. So drive through the heel and squeeze at the top. On the way down, we're going to hip hinge. So if you need to put your hand in the crease of your hinge, crease of your pelvis, and then hinge back. So push your hips back. Around right here, I end up closing in on my hand, which is exactly what you want. Okay, you want that hand to disappear and keep coming back to find your seat, and you could touch down instead of plopping down, okay? Once you're touched down, you could upright yourself again, drive yourself straight up, push to the heels so that you engage your glutes, squeeze, hinge down. If you want to use your hands as a different cue, you could place them. Once you get down to your hip hinge here, you could place them in against the inside of your knees and give a little pressure to keep those knees from caving in. Okay, so straight up. Okay, practice that 5 to 10, 15 reps, whatever is good for you at a time until you hit 2 minutes. All right, boy, you can tell I'm dressed for a workout, right? We're going to do the Bulgarian split squat first. Goodness me. I'm going to show you the more traditional way for this starter level. So that means starting from a standing position. I'm going to place a mat over here just for comfort, okay? And you may not need it if you're wearing trainers or shoes, okay? What we want to do is place one leg back on the edge of that elevation. We want this leg to be kind of the dead, fixed leg. We want the working leg to be the standing leg. Now, this is not the move, but I just want to show you the ideal foot position for the front leg and the working glute is that when we're down here, so let's say we get all the way down to a squat, we want this to be about 90-90, but your foot just a little bit out, okay? So what you're probably going to end up doing once you hook that back foot is to hop it out like an inch or two, okay? So you can always play around with this position. The most important thing on the descent is that we're going to have a hip hinge. So you don't have to start out upright like this, okay? But you could get that hip engaged, okay? Then we're going to start hip hinging. And with that hip hinge, you're going to end up with about a 20-degree angle to your spine, but where your spine is still straight, okay? So hip hinge, back, 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 okay? Until you get to an in range, okay? And from here, the most important thing is that as you drive up, you're going to come basically straight up and forward, okay? Versus if you're down here and then you end up coming back, okay? Don't do that. Don't drive back at all. Think about coming straight up and then hinge your hips forward. So at the top here, you want to feel your standing glute engage completely to get full extension. So squeeze and get full hip extension. If you feel it on the back leg here, that's okay. That just means you have hip flexor tightness, which is totally common, okay? As long as you're feeling it here, that's good. So that would be your starter level. I'm going to show you a little, drive home a little point about that hip hinge. So if you were to use a dowel, I'll show you what I mean here. If you were to use a dowel, I'll do the other leg this time. This back leg could be toes curled under or back of the foot or the front of the foot down, whatever is comfortable. So if I have this dowel touching from my head to my tailbone, this dowel shouldn't come off either portion as I hinge back, okay? So as I come down, it's staying on my head to tailbone. If I were to come off the hinge and bend too forward, this will come off, okay? If I went straight down, then this would come off, okay? So you have about your hip hinge is going to create that angle, okay? Same thing, driving home the point of the knee. So if this dowel is here, so if I'm at the bottom position of the split squat, okay, we don't want this knee to come back. We want it to go straight up, okay? Straight up, and then extend through this hip. So if you need to hold on to something lightly, that's fine, or if you have someone to hold your hands out in front, that's fine. Second variation, the moderate stage. If you could, please take the time to find even a lower elevation than this. So if you have a very low elevation, then maybe you could fold your mat to give it even a little bit of a height and cush. What you want is to find a position where once you start in front, kneeling like this, the back leg is going to hook really closely, right? So your back of the thigh, back of your calves are touching. The front part is going to come about 90-90, and then you want to be able to be fairly comfortable in this position. If you then want to inch that leg forward just a little bit, that will help you engage your glutes a little more. So here, we're actually correcting some of the problems from doing it sort of in the floating position. So from here, we're going to again drive up, pushing the weight through the heels, keeping this knee out. Don't let it cave in, okay? So come up, engage, 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 and then at the top, push through, engage the standing leg, okay? This leg is going to be your dead leg. If you're feeling it here, again, that's okay, but engage through here, get that full hip extension. And then if you need to readjust your feet in order to find it, do so. Oh, and then of course, on the way down, the hinge part, keeping your knees out to the side, same thing, okay? So if your knees are wobbly, especially like mine on my left side, okay, you probably wanna just stay at this level. If you can, then the next stage would be your weights. So starting at the bottom here, I'll show you on the other side. Okay, pick that up. Okay, lats engaged. Nice posture, and then push to the heel, drive up, extend, hinge back, slower on the descend. Go ahead and touch down. You don't have to completely reset unless you need to, okay? Squeeze, all right? So those are your 3 levels for the Bulgarian split squat. Now we're gonna do the hip thrusters. Sorry, I have allergies. Now the hip thrusters, let me see if I can show you this way. More of an angle here. Okay. So the hip thruster is one of the main staples of glute training all around, okay? As far as your glute max, glute activation, you could do very heavy weights to actually help build the glutes. So here's what we're going to do. Find your elevation, okay? You could adjust your position of how close your bum is against here, depending on your elevation. When you're sitting back on this, you want it to be resting under the lower part of your scapula or right on top of your scapula. So I'm too high, so I'm going to come down, and right around there is where it fits for me. Now that's getting down and seated, okay? Now the foot and knees. Okay, so the knees and the foot position here, you want it to be wider than your hip position. How much of an angle of your knees would be that when you are up at the full extension, you want 90 degrees. So find that position for yourself. So arms could be either out here, or you could kind of prop up more on your forearms, okay? So up here, the next big thing in our version, we're gonna keep our chin tucked, okay? Make your double chin. Look straight forward the whole time. So when you come up to full extension here, and you're gonna squeeze through the glutes, okay? To get that full extension, okay? You want your legs to end up 90, okay? And then reset down, okay? I'm sliding a little here with my setup, but that's basically your glute bridge. To make it harder, you would use, the next level would be your band across your legs here to keep that tension on as you're trying to push out against it. And the next level would be the weight right into that crease, okay? So whether it's a barbell or a sandbag or a dumbbell, okay? That gets a little bit tricky. You want to have padding, okay? So as long as you're up here able to fully hip extend and have a 90 with your shin to the floor, okay? That's the position you're looking for. Chin tuck, looking straight ahead. So there's of course variations on that, but there's those cues are going to be your foundation and your staple basis from which you start any sort of variations from, okay? You could play around just a little bit with whether your toes point forward or slightly out to the side, all right? You could also play around with the height of the back that you like, okay? A lot of it has to do with our comfort based on our anatomy, but as long as you're able to come to that full hip extension at the top by contracting through the glutes and having that 90 with the shin, okay, that's the main point, and that you're keeping your chin tuck on so that you're not looking up and then ending up overarching. So you should not feel any arch, whether it's your upper or your lower back. Keep that butt engaged and contracted. All right, give it a go.